uncharted territory, and education will never be the same now that we have AI programs in the mix. I'm sure many of you have used them already to help you with your writing, and maybe some of you have never used them before, but you're curious to try. As for me, I have used AI both as a tool in my own professional work, and last semester I experimented with allowing my students to work with it as well. And it's from my experiences last semester that I make this video for you this semester. I want to emphasize here that AI is a tool. It's not a replacement for learning or a substitute for you doing your own work. Part of this has to do with the fact that you are in school, and the point, and it's a privilege actually, is that you're supposed to be learning and I'm supposed to be assessing your work to determine if you've mastered the learning outcomes. I know that you know deep down that copying and pasting an AI output is not learning. Another part of this has to do with the fact that AI has shortcomings, and in my experiences so far, this is what gets students into the most trouble. They trust it too much. Have you not seen The Terminator? This blind trust in technology is what leads to the apocalypse. This video contains information that will help you effectively use AI. It will be helpful not only for this class, but for any future class or any professional situation moving forward. I have heard this comparison that AI is for writing what the development of the calculator was for math. As you know, you can't use a calculator if you don't understand the math that you're trying to do. It's the same with AI. The two main issues are that one, it's not rare that AI contains errors, and two, in general, AI tends to be very vague. I would think of it more of like a targeted Google search. My point is that you have to know something of what you're writing about to make sure that your AI output is error-free and that it's specific enough so that it explains the nuances of your topic. Keep in mind that you will be held responsible for any incorrect information in your work. I'll now explain how to use AI in this class. Here is the prompt I gave so I could get information on this painting and information on formal analysis. So this is what I typed in. I used ChatGPT. This is what I typed in. This is what I got. Now, believe it or not, AI is not super great when it comes to art history. The reason why is it provides generalized explanations that do not contain interpretations, and that's where you will need to fill in the blanks. So take a moment and pause this video and read what ChatGPT generated. So hopefully you did that. Now, if you had simply copied and pasted what AI generated, what you see here, for your assignment submission, you would have received an F. Now let's go through this and I'll explain why you would have gotten an F. I will also explain how you can work with what AI does give you so that you can do well on your art history writing assignments. Now I'll start out by saying this, and you'll want to keep this in mind for both this discussion board and the final research paper. Because I'm allowing you to use AI, I need to see very specific things so that I can assess your learning. That means I will need to have very specific instructions and they will need to be followed. That is the most important thing that you can do to be successful in this class and really life lately, or in reality. Be mindful of the instructions and follow them to the letter. So let's break this down, starting with the second sentence, which I've underlined for you. Neither demeanor nor detail is a formal element or design principle. So what you want to do, a good strategy, is to have a list of what constitutes a formal element or a design principle. You can compile this list from your lecture notes and your readings. That way you're not being led astray from what AI is generating. From what I can tell, AI does not exactly know what a formal element is or what a design principle is. So very risky to just like use what it says. The rest of the sentence is vague, and that's typical with AI, and that is a problem. Let's move on to the next sentence. Light. Okay, so the sentence is talking about the play of light and shadow. Light is a formal element, so that's good. Identifying the play of light and shadow is the identify step of formal analysis, which is what I've highlighted for you in yellow. It is identifying the importance of the formal element of light. This sentence is also offering an interpretation, which is highlighted in green. The light is being used to emphasize the monarch's authority. Fine. But what's missing here is the second step, analyze. How or why does the light emphasize authority? This is where you need to go back to your readings and your lecture notes to find out why or how light could communicate this meaning. Now, you might think that AI is giving you the second step with the part that's highlighted in blue. The light and shadow adds depth to the painting. The mention of depth actually turns that part of the sentence into a separate identify step because now it's talking about implied depth, which is a formal element that is different than light. See, you have to be careful here. Let's take a look at the rest of the output. So the artist's attention to intricate patterns in the entire showcases both artistic mastery and the opulence of the subject. If you looked at the list you made of your formal elements and design principles, you would know that pattern is a design principle, so you can use it for your formal analysis. Step 1, identify, is seen in the identification of pattern. Step 3, interpret, suggests meaning from the artist's use of pattern. But again, what's missing is step 2. How or why does pattern convey opulence? You would look at your lecture notes or readings to find out how pattern can convey opulence. The next sentence says, the portrait's composition with the king in 3/4 view creates a sense of engagement and intimacy. There is nothing here. Composition is not a formal element, design principle, or symbol, nor is 3/4 view. And again, I want to point out how vague this is. There's nothing here that explains why a 3/4 view creates a sense of engagement and intimacy. This is why you can't just copy and paste AI. Think of it as providing your template, and then you go in and edit it and fill in the gaps. And then there's the very last sentence, which says nothing meaningful. Now, let's pretend that rather than formal analysis, the assignment asked you to conduct an iconographic analysis. How would you go about using AI? And remember that iconography has to do with symbolism, so you'll want to look through the output to see what it has in there that's being treated as a symbol. I've identified the potential symbolism here with the sentence that is underlined. But again, the problem is that this is way too vague. So clothing can be symbolic, but you need to be more specific here. Which item of clothing in particular is symbolic? According to one or both of our online symbolism dictionaries, what does that item of clothing represent? Keep in mind that a symbol is an object that communicates another meaning, one that is different than the meaning we typically ascribe to this symbol. So for example, the king is wearing a hat, and that is a type of clothing object. We know that hats have the functional purpose of covering the head, but according to the online symbolism dictionary, hats represent authority and power. So let's see how we could turn this into an iconographic analysis. So we see that the first thing I have done is identified a specific symbol from the very general AI statement. The second thing I have done is to look it up in one of the symbolism dictionaries, and I have cited that in my text. You are required to cite the source, otherwise it reads as though you are assuming the symbolism or you're making it up. The third thing I've done is connected the symbol's meaning, as described in the dictionary, to what I'm seeing in the artwork, and then I've connected it to an interpretation that explains why this symbolism would be significant. The underlined sentence also says that symbolism could reside in facial features. This is true, but again, too vague. What facial features? What does the online symbolism dictionary say about that feature or features? What wider meaning does that symbolism give the artwork? Now, since you're using AI, I want you to demonstrate to me that you have done your due diligence with fact-checking by conducting additional research. This makes your citations especially important for this assignment and for your final research paper. Please keep in mind that it's not simply citing that is important, but that the formatting itself is accurate. Accurate citation is part of the learning outcomes of this course, not something I'm doing just to be an evil fire-breathing dragon. Here is a sample discussion board post and works cited section. Please note that it needs to be in alphabetical order by author's last name or by the article title if no author is given. If there is no author, don't just make the website name the author. It's okay to have no author. Just start out the citation with the article title, which you can see I've done here. Also note that the works cited page is single-spaced. Each entry is aligned with the left margin, and for each entry, any line after the first is indented. The idea behind a works cited page is that someone who's reading your work might want to consult the source that you're citing. So you want your reader to be able to scan down the front of your works cited section quickly to find the source. That means that whatever is at the front of your entry is what should be cited in the text. You can see this correlation if you look at my in-text citations and the works cited section. Don't just grab something out of the middle of the works cited entry and then stick it in the citation. You would force your reader to read through every single entry to find the source you're referring to. And remember, with MLA, there is no comma in the in-text citation. One thing to note with the Protus source, the Online Symbolism Dictionary, if I had just consulted one of the entries of the Online Symbolism Dictionary, it would have been fine just to put Protus in parentheses with the in-text citation. But because I use two entries here, I do need to indicate the entry title so the reader knows what entry the citation is referring to. To work on your citations in the discussion board and the final research paper, please consult the quick guide I provided. It's the easiest thing. You literally just look at my formatting and then copy it when formatting your own. I would suggest you avoid citation generators. They usually have errors, and it's common that the formatting is lost when you copy and paste. Hopefully the brief video here has helped you to get a sense of how to use AI to help you work on your writing assignments and avoid self-destruction.